Hey everybody, it is Monday, November 13th. This is the American Micro Podcast. I am Anthony Pago once again and still, and I am in Oklahoma City. Tuning in elsewhere is Rodney Hubbard. Rodney, where are you at today?
I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. Thank you very much.
Yep,
Yes,
yep.
the beautiful city of Bmore.
How is Baltimore right now?
So we're here to talk about oh man, Baltimore. Okay. So, there's a lot going on in Baltimore. There should be a lot more going on in Baltimore because it's a beautiful city. It just needs so much work, dude. It's just and given the powers that be with conglomerates and people who just gobble up properties and things like that. I would say probably within the next maybe 5 to 7 years that town will be completely gentrified. Completely.
Okay, well, some more
Yeah.
of the same
Yeah.
across the
Yeah.
nation.
Yeah, more the same. Well, dude, that there were banks that had to pay. I can't remember the name of the banks, but there were banks in the last what 5 or 6 years. In the last 3 to 5 years, that had to pay out fines for redlining.
Oh, finally, somebody's actually.
So this yeah yeah doing something about it. But I mean, yeah, that's just it never stops, bro. It never stops. Baltimore's a black town. It's a black city, and it's just like what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? There's a lot to do, but that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
Trust me when I tell you that. But this guy
Well,
Michael Johnson, man, he's so go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, like, as much as I
No,
hate
well,
to
I was
take
gonna
away.
say. I mean, he's
Uh, no, no, carry us
from
through.
Baltimore. Yeah, no. This Michael Johnson guy. He's a yeah. So he's a self-described Christian, quote unquote Christian counselor. Okay, and he a few years ago, believe it or not, created a seminar that promoted the premise that the United States has been a Christian nation the whole time we've been here. So I found a video, and I'm gonna put it up at some point. But anyways, there's a video of him um, in one of these sessions that they held in 2019 in a Baptist church that they belong to in Bossier. I think I'm saying that right, City, Louisiana. And at the event, from the pulpit, Kelly, his wife, declared uh, that biblical Christianity, that is a literal reading of the Bible as fundamentalists interpret it, is the only valid worldview. Like that's it. Like that nothing else holds any other standard. That is the standard. Nothing else makes sense. So this worldview also includes creationism, believing that the earth was created by God 6,000 years ago. Okay. And the denial of evolution. And Mike Johnson called for a biblically sanctioned government in the in this venue. And many he said this all over the place, dude. I mean, this guy goes on the record with some of the craziest stuff. They are basically diehard. He and his wife are diehard fundamentalists who believe every religious order that every religion other than their brand of Christianity is false. And I mean, there's tons of stuff that this guy is against, dude. He's against dude, global warming. Just throw it out the window. He believes that what do you call those things? Those wind the
The
what do you call
generators, yeah, the wind, like
the
they're
wind?
not windmills because
Yeah,
that's
the
different,
wind.
but yeah,
What? Well, call them windmills. He
okay.
believes that they cause headaches, anxiety, depression.
Yeah,
I
wind
mean,
turbines, turbines.
I could go wind turbines. Yeah. So that's what
Mhm.
he believes, right? I mean, you, you're from that part of the world, bro.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have run into your fair share of people just like this guy.
Oh, I every
Tell
day,
me.
every single day. I grew up in that type of environment. Thankfully my parents relaxed their kind of like descent down into that hole. They saw the writing on the wall. I think that my stepdad and my mom were, I know that they were very Republican, very conservative, very Christian. They remain very Christian, but they saw the writing on the wall as far as fascism goes, that the Republican Party was moving towards fascism, especially with Trump. The children, the six kids, tried to warn them that this is the way it was going since childhood. And it was only, and this is like the 80s, 90s, when we were telling them, like, we see the writing on the wall. They wouldn't believe us. And then when Trump came about and they saw where the Republican Party was going, they immediately changed their party alignment to independence. So I thank them for that. So they are still Christian, but I think the difference is they're not evangelicals, which is what Mike Johnson is. He's an evangelical, a Protestant evangelical, and he aligns himself with white nationalists, particularly. So it's a very specific brand. It is very culty, and my parents finally saw that happening and jumped off board. So I do have some experience with, like, in Oklahoma, very red, very Christian people actually changing their minds. So it can happen.
Wow. Wow. Well, I mean, so do you think um so let me ask you this. How do you feel about um the separation between religion and the state? I mean, I know how I'm just asking because I mean, here's my thing. There's no way in a country that is built that is a multi-ethnic country by, no fault of its own, right? So everyone under the sun lives here. There's every type of nationality, every type of ethnicity from any part of the world that lives in America, correct? So how do you explain a person like this who is the Speaker of the House? How do you explain someone saying that the only worldview is a fundamentalist Christian worldview? How do you explain that?
I'm
I mean,
I'm
I
I'm
don't know.
I'm seriously going to boil it down, and I know that everybody hates to hear this word tossed around, because everybody, there's this like trope on the internet that says, like, once you invoke the name Hitler, you've lost the argument, and that's like a trope on discussion boards, particularly on Reddit. But the difference is, the thing is, and I'm gonna like just give this disclaimer in the beginning. There is a difference between 1935 fascism and fascism today. Fascism today is not purely, it's a broad blanket. Fascism is a big thing. Globally encapsulates many different religions, but fascism is inherently a conservative, like a right wing religious thing. So you've got some fascist monks in, oh, I can't remember the name of the country. Um, can't remember right now. There's some fascist monks going on right now. They're like, China has a form of like kind of capitalistic fascism. North Korea particularly has fascism. Italy is kind of one of the origins, the birthplaces of it. They had kind of like Catholic, if I remember right. And then the Irish had their own version, and of course, the European version that came over to America brought us our version of fascism. That kind of, not kind of, did rear its ugly head in the early 1900s and tried to take over the United States. Rachel Maddow did a really great piece on that. I would highly recommend people. I think it's called Ultra, her book on that. Brazil just kicked out one of their fascist leaning or fascist leaders. There's
Myanmar.
Myanmar. There are various forms of fascism, and they're not all like uh, Christian nationalist versions of fascism. But fascism had a particular brand back in 35, and it's a popular trope to say, well, we're not exactly like the Nazis, therefore we're not fascists. And that's ignorant of the idea of fascism. Fascism doesn't have to be exactly like the Nazis' brand of fascism. And this modern day version that we have here in the United States has a lot of like characteristics that are born off of the original Nazi style type of fascism, but it's modernized in a couple different ways. Not everybody who's involved in the Christian nationalist movement actually believes in God, but most of them, likely do. A lot of them are in it for the hate, for the otherism, for the power seeking. And I feel like Mike Johnson actually believes in his Christian brand of American fascism. And that's why I think that I think that's why he's one of the more dangerous people, because nothing is more dangerous than a man who firmly believes in his beliefs that want to destroy everybody but his in group. And the in group, the thing about fascism is fascism rolls over everybody. It doesn't exclude the in group as well at some point. A great example is whenever you have fascistic type leanings. We'll give a small example. On the borders here in the United States, the Border Patrol was kind of riled up and turned kind of anti-immigrant, and not just immigration control, but like anti-immigrant, which shouldn't be a thing for police forces, right? Like theoretically, you shouldn't be politicizing police forces. I know that that's a joke in America to say that, but theoretically, your police forces
Yeah,
shouldn't be
yeah.
politicized or religiousized or whatever. And the Border Patrol like was extending their power beyond the however many miles it's supposed to have domain over from the border, and interrupting the highway systems along the southern border. And people, like en masse, all types of people, were suddenly being like slowed down in their commute to work. And you were seeing complaints from like particularly on Reddit, sorry, on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, the X brand that Musk has. That's another story. You saw a bunch of complaints
Yeah.
about people having to sit in line at the border because, or not at the border, near the border on the highways because there were stops, immigration stops that had extended beyond their usual protocol and their actual their legal domain. And they were complaining, the right wing people were complaining too, because they're like, why is this impacting me? And that's a very small example of how fascism doesn't just hurt the people that fascism attracts people to its base by proclaiming they're gonna like hurt those people. So if fascism says we're anti, immigrants, we're anti LGBTQ, we're anti whatever, whatever black people or whatever, um, they start there and they attract their base there, and they end up harming more and more people. The further they go, the more power they get, and the more kind of like they become paranoid of losing the power that they've gained, particularly the leaders, and they will roll over anybody, including their own. And we see that today with the infighting in the Republican Party, where they are harming themselves actively with, you can name any number of issues that they've picked up, like the abortion stuff, just like anybody who works with Democrats. McConnell has been super, super helpful for the white Christian nationalist groups, and yet he got, basically ousted out of the party recently. You can just like run down the list of all of the top old guard in Republicans who have towed the line for white Christian nationalists, and if they are ever speaking against the new version, the MAGA, what started off as the Tea Party and became MAGA, this new blood of like hyper extremists, if you speak out against them or interrupt their kind of like their circus, you get harmed by their group, by the fascists. this is a fascist group, and we can like argue about like what fascism is and the definitions. I mean, it's just it's an idea, it's a notion. We all kind of like sense and know what it means, but at its core, it's always going to have some sort of fantasy that's sold, and the fantasy starts with a lie, which is you have a particular race. Races, we know genetically, scientifically, isn't really a thing. There are cultures, but
It's a
genetically,
construct.
yeah, the constructs. There's no real genetic basis for like race, and yet they presuppose that there is. So now you've got this white Christian nationalist, this culture that they say is superior. So this is their superior thing, and they give a lie or a mythology is a better term. This is the core of fascism. There's a mythology that they at some point in the past had this really great thing going, and it was ruined by the others. And the others are initially, again, LGBTQ, immigrants, black people, whatever, Native Americans, and then they need a strong man to defeat the threat that has ruined the nation, and that's why you get leaders like exalted and brought up, and it doesn't matter whether they are criminally indicted 91 times or actually proven to be like sexual assaulters or
Uh,
anything like that. What matters is they're the strong person who's going to defeat the others that have ruined the nation. We talk about the word cult. It is a cult, but it is also fascism. So I think that Mike Johnson has been raised by a cult, a particular cult, a Christian cult, white nationalist Christian cult, and he has decided that it is his like holy duty to come into the government and infect or change, take hold of the system however possible, through lies, through what he thinks are truths. It doesn't matter, because what does matter when it comes to religion? It's not science. Science is kind of counter to religion in many aspects. Sometimes if it's helpful, they'll roll with it.
totally.
If it is counter to their ideals, they will reject it outright. So truth is just a malleable thing that they can throw away or bring in whenever it's helpful for their propaganda. So that's what makes him
Well,
dangerous. Go ahead.
well, let me say this. Someone like Michael Johnson. So a good example um, of how his faith, quote unquote, affects his approach to public policy um, occurred in the seminar in 2019. So he discussed climate change, right?
Hmm.
And what he said was that, this is what he said. He asserted that the demand for action to address the climate crisis defies the created order of how this is all supposed to work. Okay, so he
Right.
explained that the Bible presents an order. I mean, this is like out of Star Wars, or no, it's not even that good. Um, he explained that the Bible presents like a certain order to life. There's God, and beneath God, there's man, and below that, all the animals. Humans are to follow God's commands and take dominion over the earth. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're not supposed to eat those animals. So if you okay, we're not that's how he feels. Johnson noted that um, environments that ignore God's word uh, are compared to the devil. Okay, and when you take God out of the equation, you remove absolute truth. So this guy is, you got to understand, this is theocratic fascism, right? So having grown up in a Pentecostal church, okay, I mean, I understand. I know who this guy is, man. I know who this guy is. Like, he is he's an extreme type of person. He doesn't come across as a mild mannered individual. Okay. So during his seminar, he told his co religionists that they need to promote their truth in a Christ-like fashion with loving and kindness, which of course never happens. Christians have killed more people in the name of God than any religion on earth. And they, you know that, right?
There's no hate like Christian
and
love.
they go ahead.
I said there's no hate like Christian love.
Dude,
like
I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. So I know, no. It's the truth. It's absolutely. I mean, look, man, what Christianity has done since the Catholic Church, since Catholicism, literally. And I know, I don't know if this is going to sit well with a lot of people, but dude, religion in the name of whoever you pray to, the zealots out there. I mean, there are a lot of people out there who believe like this guy, brother. There are a lot of people who believe.
we might want to make a little disclaimer here before we lose all of our subscribers, before everybody tunes out. I was raised Christian, and so were you. And
so was I.
Yeah. And so we understand that there's a difference between organized religion and the leaders and the actual people in the pews. I don't presuppose or even like want to tell everybody. I don't want to give off some sort of atheistic propaganda. Although I feel like the world might be better off if the world was atheistic. I'm absolutely fine with everybody being a Christian. It's when Christianity is used as a cover, as a dogmatic tool to oppress others, that I have the problem, because that's nowhere in the Bible. That's not in the second half anyway. The first half is a totally different story, very dark book. But the second half, that's supposed to be Christianity, Christ, right? Like the dude who's in the second half, is supposed to be very non-fascistic. He says
the New Testament. The New Testament.
Yeah, the New Testament. He says
Matthew,
to follow.
Yeah.
He says to follow the laws, to be good to people, to protect those who are lesser or are injured, and accept strange people, people from other lands. There is no anti-immigration, and when you talk to the new brand Christians, like the Christian nationalists and stuff, they will quite often tell you that it's time for a revision of the Bible, which to me tells me they're not actually like Christians.
He's
they
a
are
scary
reinventing.
Guy, dude.
Yeah,
he's a scary guy.
Yeah,
he is a polite zealot. You know what I mean? He's
politeness.
He's a wolf.
The politeness is where. The politeness is where I think we're going to be in trouble. I feel like this is a guy who comes off to most people as cautious, careful, well-spoken, even polite. I don't think that most people see the same warning signs that you and I see. I think that our conversations in these podcasts are to help people understand what you need to look out for, what are the historical trends in these types of issues. And it's interesting. I watched this Judiciary Committee video that was on C-SPAN or something. Very boring, like paperwork type of stuff from May 3rd or May 10th, 2023, where they were trying to write a bill that said, the Republicans, of course, started this bill, authoring it, saying we want to acknowledge the hard work and the danger that police encounter in their daily work. And then the second part of this bill that they were writing said we also want to, put on the record that Democrats constantly try to use language like defund the police. So it became clear that the bill, and it does nothing, right? It doesn't pass any laws that like actually restructure uh, anything to make police more safe, to give them better types of funding in the right place, to save lives for police officers, or to help anything legally. It is just a bill to try to make a statement, and he's at the head with the gavel of this Judiciary Committee. Um, and some Democrats add an amendment to the bill that initially there's like revisions and revisions of amendments, and the first few amendments that Democrats try to pass also give the language of like we acknowledge the police, and we also want to like thank or kind of acknowledge that not thank but like acknowledge that the January 6th Capitol officers also had a hard time and need to be acknowledged. Um, and the Republicans lost their minds and voted down these additions to the amendments, and eventually the Democrats just like whittled it down to we just want to acknowledge the January 6th Capitol Police, and they lost their mind, and particularly it was Mike Johnson, who was at the head of the Judiciary Committee at this time, who, when he would speak about this amendment, you could see the vitriol, like the change in his face was something you won't see on like any of his speeches about becoming speaker or anything that's he knows is going to go national on CNN, where he looks calm and collected, and he's very much kind of gaslighting people into being like, I'm a nice guy. Like, look, how could I be a bad guy? I share my phone screen and my computer with my son to make sure I don't watch porn too much. How could I be a bad guy? And then when he's sitting there letting,
He
when he's like,
masterminded Trump's election coup, bro.
right, we'll get there, but let me just okay. I'll finish. I'll wrap it up real quick. Whenever the Democrats would try to explain, so Mike said we are going to kill this conversation, the amendments. We're going to kill the bill, the writing of the bill, because of congressional rule. I think it was like 16 subsection 7, saying that any amendment has to uh, relate to the bill in some manner, and if it doesn't relate, then it is disqualified, and you got to kill the whole thing. And he kept bringing up this rule, and the Democrats kept saying, yeah, but they're Capitol Police, and we're acknowledging police and the danger to their, to their jobs, to their lives, through their jobs, to their lives. And he just kept ignoring it, saying no. And as he kept having to respond, he would tell them basically to shut up. And that's not how the rules work with these subcommittees. You can't tell the other side to shut up. You have to give them their time to speak. And he would say, I don't want to hear any more out of you. I don't want to hear. And they would bring up the rules and be like, no, I get to speak. So you've got to, once you're done, are you done speaking? Then now it's my time. And he would grow livid and angry and interrupt them and yell over their conversation when they would relate how Capitol Police are police, and this actually fits in line with the bill. And the anger that was present in his face, you could just see the eyes grow dark, and you could see what's going to happen in the future. What we've seen with Trump, where he started off in the beginning as kind of a funny guy making funny names out of people. He'd make like quips about people, and everybody thought it was a comedy show. And then he got darker and darker and angrier. You can see that with Mike Johnson if you watch some of his actual like conversations with legislators when it's not in the
No, I
big
get it,
public
dude. I mean,
limelight.
look, here's the thing. Okay, so I just found this, just going through some stuff. 21 not so fun facts about Speaker Mike Johnson, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's a basket case. Okay, so here's number one.
Yeah.
He masterminded Trump's election coup. Okay,
Yeah.
number one. Number two,
Yeah.
he's the least experienced House Speaker in 140 years. Okay.
Mhm.
Number three, he worked for the conservative legal group behind the case that ended Roe versus Wade. He
Yeah.
wants to ban abortion nationwide. He blamed abortion for school shootings.
Mhm. Yep.
I mean, he also blamed abortion for Social Security and Medicare cuts.
Yeah.
He blamed mass shootings on the teaching of evolution. He fought to make taxpayers fund a no-park theme park.
Yeah.
Let me say that again. He fought to make taxpayers fund a Noah's Ark theme park. You know, where all the animals walk 2 by 2 up the plank into the ark with the great flood.
And dinosaurs.
I mean,
Somehow.
I could go on and on, but this is what we're dealing with. And dinosaurs. Yeah. 6,000 years ago. He fought to ban, same-sex marriage in Louisiana. He led an anti-gay campus movement, blah, blah, blah. He wrote a lot of homophobic op-eds.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're dealing with, not with just him. I mean, if we're going to go into it, I mean, look, he is a byproduct of a fascist leaning GOP, not fascist leaning, a fascist GOP, a fascist Republican Party that is only determined to take all of our rights away at some point.
Yeah, it's not leaning. It's not leaning anymore because
who you want to marry.
They ousted the speaker, the fascistic version of the Republican Party, ousted their leadership. So they're in control, basically. They're holding it hostage. It's not fascistic leaning anymore. They are introducing fascism back into American politics.
Yeah. He wasn't Kevin McCarthy was not right leaning enough. He wasn't far right enough, dude.
Yeah. Same with McConnell. And McConnell stole.
Yes.
They do not like McConnell. McConnell stole, the Supreme Court seat, a couple of them actually, for them to help introduce the conservative Christian ideals into the government, and that still wasn't enough for these people. So if that doesn't tell you how far they want to go, I don't know what's going to tell you how far they want to go.
Well, I mean, look, you and look, we've both been around, we've been all over this country, and, there's a lot going on, right? I mean, religion, women's rights, the rights of Black, Indigenous people of color, the rights of LGBTQ plus, trans, and we are slowly getting taken advantage of. And by that I mean, I think I don't know the exact number, but there's a billion plus people on TikTok, and a lot of these people believe it's the only way to get our voices heard is through talking and the bottom line, I mean, you can talk all you want, okay, but you need a platform. You can't just sit back and be a data warrior, a keyboard warrior. You need to put it out there. Oh, I got bananaed by TikTok today. I got they suspended me for a week. Mike Johnson is a threat to the culture and society of the United States of America. And if we don't understand that, and here's the thing, Pago, and I know you know this, but here's the thing. There are people, like you said, the people in that line who are right-leaning in Texas who are like, why is this affecting me? Bro, just wait. You haven't seen anything yet. You haven't been, if what happens, if what we think could happen in 2024 happens, it's over, bro.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier in your list that he's anti-abortion, and I want to correct you on that a little bit. And the correction actually goes worse. He's anti conception control methods as well. I don't know if that means condoms, but I know that he's anti the pill. So we're not going to stop there. If he
Well,
gets
that's not a correction, dude. That's
just an addendum.
that's that rabbit hole just got deeper.
Yeah. So if they're gonna
Jesus, dude. Yeah.
if they're gonna start with controlling what type of medication, which by the way is used for many things other than controlling pregnancy. It's used for a lot of people, a lot of women particularly, for other things like health. There's other health reasons, not just as minor as, but including like acne problems, like severe acne, like detrimental stuff. But it gets way worse than that. There's a long list of things that women use birth control for. And that's not their end line. That's their beginning. That's where they want to start. I promise you that. That's the way this works. Once you get control, and I don't have to promise you, you can look at fascistic states, Christian or religious fascistic states. Once they get control, they don't, and we have a good example. We already have an example of that with Trump's version of the Judeo-Christian fascist, white Judeo-Christian fascist state. Whenever he started adding the bans, did he ever remove any of them? He didn't remove them. He kept adding on more and more. He did like the Muslim ban, the immigrant bans, the Muslim ban. He kept adding on. He wanted to ban LGBTQ, and like they wanted to reverse, gay marriage. They're never trying to address an actual problem, and once it's fixed, relax things. It's just adding on more and more prohibitive, awful, harmful policies in order to hurt people. And he's actually made those comments again as he's trying to get elected. He's said, this if I get elected, I'm out for revenge. And we knew that innately, and he's made hints to that, but he actually came out on his like social media, on his Truth Social thing, and said, now that and this is the way this works for Trump and particularly for fascists, they accuse the people that they have decided to make the target, to become the awful, the other, the thing that pulls people in behind them to become their base. They accuse them of that which they are planning on doing, or that of which they are guilty of themselves. So so why not just accuse people of cheating in the election if you plan on cheating? Why not, accuse people of being like anti-Semitic when you yourself are planning on anti-Semitism actions? And we've seen this with Trump, where he accuses people years ahead of time, particularly the left, particularly progressives, of certain things, and then he will come out later and be like, well, you know what? If you guys are doing it, and he won't back up, with any evidence, because there is none of the accusation. He won't show any proof of the accusations, and then he will say, well, if you got to do it, then I guess I'm free to do it as well, which is not even not logically sound. It's a child's game, like, right? Like I'm gonna hit you because you hit me type of stuff. That doesn't even like sit right with like the legal world or the logical world, but that's the way fascists work. They're going to accuse their enemies of doing things, and that gives their base a reason to support them becoming violent or just aggressive by whatever means. So we've seen that Trump and the white nationalists, the Christian nationalists, are telling us, it's called telegraphing in the boxing world. They are rearing back their arms. Telegraphing is rearing back your arm to, show somebody that you're about to punch. They're telegraphing their intentions right now, and their intentions are very much in line with a
Yeah, but
modernized
they've been doing
version.
this forever, dude. They've been doing
Hmm.
this forever.
Yes,
They've
but
been
they
doing
are
this forever,
actually
though. I mean,
they're
it's not like we haven't. I mean, how long does it take? Look, look, and look. Okay, in 1968, Richard Nixon became president. He and Lee Atwater said, this is what they said: we need a boogeyman. 64-65 legislation was enacted to help black people. But you know what? If we make the black man the boogeyman, then none of that matters. So Lee Atwater was like, we can't use the N word anymore. We can't use any type of divisive, slurs or anything. But what we will do is we will speak in code. Okay.
Right.
And the fascism started. This by and large, this country has always had a fascist quote unquote flair to it.
Sure.
And maybe uh, uh, what's his name? Not Theodore, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He created the New Deal, which gave everyone a social safety net, right?
Right.
But after that, so like I was telling someone earlier today, look, if black men and women don't stand up in the late 40s and the early 50s and say, we're done, we're tired, we're not going to take this anymore, okay? And then in the 60s, which is an extremely violent decade, you had the Vietnam War, JFK's assassination, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X. You have the 65 Watts riots.
Mm-hmm.
You had Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, Kent State. Then in the early 70s, were 4 dead in Ohio. You had Watergate. You had, Vietnam raged on until 75, which was a totally fascist war, a war that we lost, of course.
Right.
And everything that we've done since then, whether it's been in Iraq or Kuwait or over whatever, we've always found a reason to bomb brown people into the Stone Age. We've always done that because we're because of our Christian, our the way it's what we believe. It's the God that we pray to, okay, and it makes us in our own creationist. I'm not saying but I'm saying the United States, the people of the powers that be, they believe that who they are and what they are and what they stand for is gospel. And so does this guy. He's the same way, except take that about 200 yards down the football field, and that's where he is. He's way out there, dude.
Yeah. So I want to touch base.
I'm just looking at all the stuff that this guy like. No, go ahead.
I want to touch base on something that you were talking about. You were talking about how like this has always happened, and it's true. We seem to be stuck in a cyclical version of kind of supporting awful people and then bringing somebody else in to clean up the mess. And there's a really good book, and you spoke to the wars that we're particularly we're going out above and beyond to destroy other people's lives and other nations, particularly if they don't look like us, is kind of the sentiment that we feel like is too often true. And there's this book called Bring the War Home by Kathleen Blue, and she did discovery on a lot of FBI files and did a lot of interviews with experts, and brings to this book an assessment that shows these wars, particularly starting with Vietnam and continuing on, have the, I'm not going to say unintended consequence, but definitely the consequence of building up at first small groups of disgruntled veterans and civilians who have like virulent anti-communistic kind of sentiment and anti-immigrant and stuff, and they tend to form these factions of these white supremacist groups who become the militant groups that are doing the things in like Waco, Ruby Ridge, Oklahoma City, where I'm speaking from presently. Timothy McVeigh had a book that was one of these dreams. We've spoken about it before. One of these like waking dreams about a white nationalistic, white Christian nationalist nation that had to be born out of violence through terrorism, and he was trying to accelerate. There's this thing called accelerationism, and that's what these little groups get together and do. And her book indicates and shows how these wars that are pushed by conservatives, religious conservatives, We go out abroad and we begin these wars, and it's not just the result. The results are not just that we destroy these nations and create terrorists over there that want to then come over here and cause problems, and also cause problems elsewhere that we have to also spend more money on and more lives for American soldiers. But they actually create more white Christian nationalist terrorists at home who are disenchanted and cause problems here. And that burgeoning
Disenfranchised.
those burgeoning groups have become the Tea Party that grew into the MAGA party that have become the angry Trump base. And you see very clearly their ideals really deal more with delivering pain and revenge more so than actual policy and improvement under the guise of make America great again. But making America great simply means that the people that look and think like them, belong to their group, are in control and subjugating other groups once again, delivering pain to other groups. So it is just about pain and death. It is a death cult, and it is very much tied to the war mentality, the war creation mentality that a lot of these politicians today are still pushing. You will hear right now, particularly after some of the Republican debates, a lot of the top tier, I say top tier, they're kind of the B-listers, the B-listers that are running for president, that are trying to chase the coattails of Trump, are pushing now for war with Iran, which is insane. It's completely insane to push for a war with Iran. But there is just this long tradition of starting wars and knowing that this is going to build back up their base of these terrorists, these white Christian male, typically. Not that females aren't involved; there are females involved as well. But these little paramilitary groups. So that
Dude,
is right now.
these hold on. Most of the base, most white men are they are propped up by white women. That's how that works. That's how look. They're white women raise racists. The white women raise racist white sons.
Now
That's how
I'm
that
gonna
works, dude.
I'm gonna do the thing.
Their
I'm gonna
dads
do the
didn't raise
thing and
them.
say disclaimer: not all white women, not all white women. We're talking
But
specifically about.
we all know. But still. Look, we know what we're talking about. Everyone knows
Yeah,
what we're
yeah.
talking about. We are talking about the white patriarchal society in this country, the white nationalist patriarchal religious uber
Yeah,
right,
the trad
whose
wives.
mothers and fathers, they raise these men and they raise these women. They're the sisters of the South.
Yeah.
They're the whoever this new group is, the mothers of whatever. Yeah, these people are tragic. They're
Hmm.
tragic. They're what are they afraid of, dude? What would okay, imagine this, dude. Imagine in a country as multiracial as this country is, that no one can marry outside their race.
Right. Yeah.
Imagine that. Like
Yeah.
you would not be able to marry your wife. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just that's where we are right now, dude. This is so oh my god. This is so much more serious than people think. I mean, this guy is for real. Okay, so as a lawyer, Johnson worked on multiple cases representing plaintiffs who refused to dispense, counsel, or provide emergency contraception, which they consider to be abortion-inducing drugs.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
And as a congressman, Johnson has repeatedly voted against efforts to expand, fund, or protect access to birth control and other family planning services, including for members of the military, bro.
Yep. Yep. So So the medical stuff
I
like
mean, this
scares
guy
me
is
to no,
fucking scary, bro.
yeah, he's insane. The medical stuff scares me to no end. I can't express to people how dangerous it is to have religion in control of your science. It no longer becomes science. It's not, if science isn't available to us, then we literally are rolling back to what was the Under His Eye show, the book. You know what I'm talking about, like the hood, the
Uh,
hoods, and they have like,
right.
you don't remember? All right. Well, I'm sure our listeners know, or some of them do.
Okay.
But even more
What?
scary,
What?
Under His
The
Eye was like a
KKK?
phrase. No, no, no. It was a fictional book. I can't remember the name of it. They all wore red hoods. The women had to wear red hoods, and they were like the birthing women,
Oh
like the
no, I
young
no, I
virile
don't
women.
know.
I can't remember the name of it, but like even more scary than that, even more scary than that, because it begins here, is like, okay, so these are his real thoughts. This is not like me guessing. This is a quote about Thomas Jefferson, and him denying that Jefferson, who, by the way, had the Jeffersonian Bible, which was very agnostic, removed a lot of the religious dogmatic bits. He said Thomas
Dogma.
Jefferson didn't
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
support he said Thomas Jefferson didn't really support church-state separation. And here's a quote, Jefferson clearly did not mean that metaphorical wall was to keep religion from influencing issues of civil government. To the contrary, it was meant to keep the federal government from impeding the religious practices of citizens. The founders wanted to protect the church from an encroaching state, not the other way around. So he's rewriting history completely, totally misconstruing or misrepresenting, lying about Jefferson's intentions, and saying that Jefferson wanted, and you're right, he only supports his evangelical brand of Christianity. He is telling everybody that Jefferson, who was very clear on the record against evangelical Christianity, very clear on that matter. He is saying, he is putting into history, on the record, that he is of the belief that Jefferson wanted to protect evangelical Christianity's ability to control the government, and only their brand. He does not want any other form of Christianity to rule, like you said earlier. So this is not only dangerous, this is an outright admission to fascistic ideals. So we can't like say this word often enough to get this across to people. This isn't like calling somebody that you hate Hitler because you hate them and Hitler's the worst person you can think of. This is a new version of fascism that is admitting that it's fascistic, and they believe they have the ability to take control and instill their religious beliefs, and those don't include scientific beliefs. You like your birth control? Too bad. You like your vaccinations?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Bye
So
bye.
yeah,
You're gonna. Yeah. I don't know what
that's
to
where they're
tell you,
taking us
but
right now.
we're not giving you any shots. You or your children. You or your children.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
the rich might think that they
this
can.
so
I was just gonna say, the rich might
no,
think
go
that they
ahead, go
can
ahead.
fly. The rich might think that they can fly out of state or out of nation to get their inoculations for now, like to get their abortions and stuff like that. And for now, they can. Like people with money can avoid a lot of the like state legislatures prohibitive, like red lines for keeping their religious dogmatic views, like oppressing people. But they have been slowly but surely trying to press or test out laws that keep track of and make mandatory reporting, and give cops the obligation to hunt down, to track people who are subverting laws, to travel to another state to get an abortion. And the next logical step would be, well, you want to get your kid vaccinated. Let's say polio makes a return, and it has in certain regions, thanks to anti-vax movements. Let's say polio makes a resurgence. If the United States is theocratically run at some point in the near future, um, it is very possible, and they're already testing out the laws to try to make sure that the law is keeping track of your communications to see if you're contacting doctors or regions that give these vaccines, and to make sure that you can be hunted down by a bounty hunter that has a badge, to bring you back to the state to make sure that that can't happen, or to prosecute you,
Can you
or
imagine that,
worse.
bro? Can you imagine
Yeah.
that? Dude, come on. I mean, so Mike Johnson was actually, so check this out. He praised in 18th century values. He basically, what he said was, he thinks that our values should harken back to the values of the 18th century, which are the 1700s.
Right.
And basically, when it comes to morality and religion, that's where he thinks the United States should be. What?
Yeah, I'm not a
250
big
years
fan of
ago,
that
dude.
idea. Yeah, I'm not into that. Let me just like be brave and go on the record and say, not cool.
Yeah, please be brave. Please, man. Just, dude, the more I read about this guy, the more I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. Like this, like you can't, bro, like, can't we talk about this? Can we, like, yeah, this dude, I mean, what happened to this? I mean, like,
Oh, I have an answer for
so
that.
what
I
happened?
have an answer for that. I have an answer for that. I can tell you this is
Okay,
great.
tell me. What?
So I'm gonna
Please.
give credit. I would love to take credit for this joke, but I can't take credit for the joke in all good conscience,
Okay, all right.
because I'm not a conservative. But the Daily Show, I had a good little bit where they were talking about Mike Johnson, and they gave this like biopic kind of video talking about how in, I think it was 1984, his father was a firefighter, and his father, like survived, barely survived an explosion. And previous to that, Mike Johnson had said all he ever wanted to be was a firefighter. That was his biggest dream. That was his goal. He was definitely going to be a firefighter. But when his father barely survived an explosion during a firefighting session, his parents then forbid him from becoming a firefighter. And that was the day that Mike Johnson built his new dream, which was to control other people's lives. He fell in love with the notion of controlling other people's lives, just like his life was controlled by his parents. And I thought that that was a very brilliant take, very apt. It makes sense. Like on that day, Mike Johnson realized that he too could control other people's lives, just like his life had been controlled by his parents. And I'm like, that's the origin story of a villain right there. It really is. He wanted to be a good person. He wanted to do good. And all of a sudden, his parents forbid him from being a good person. He was like, well, if I can't do what I want, then no one else can. So,
Dude, imagine who are the people that, what do they call the people that work for congressmen?
I don't know
Oh
what you're
God,
looking for.
his
Legislators,
staff.
congresspersons, what? Oh,
But no,
you're
his staff.
talking about pages,
His
like
staff
pages.
members. Who do you think? Yeah, pages, staff members, whatever. Who do you
Okay.
think the people are? How would you get? Who do you think those people are? Like, what are his staff members like?
I can't
Imagine
even. I
that.
mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, I feel like these are people who go and raise a barn on weekends for fun. I can't even imagine what these people. Now, I feel like that they are probably very angry. No, because those
No.
are nice people. I joke. Like I love whomever, the Amish people, the Mennonites. They're very good people. They actually like are modernizing themselves quite a bit. But regardless, like if they don't even touch a cell phone, very fine with like the fact that they take
Whatever.
their stuff
Yeah.
seriously and they stick to themselves. Whereas these people, are pushing their agenda on everybody else. So what I can
This
imagine,
guy,
yeah, his staff has to be full of like think about what are they called? Like incels. It's got to be incels and tradwives. So it's got to just be incels and tradwives that like spent all of their time on 4chan and Reddit in the darkest parts of the internet, and they just want to become the next future Trump, basically.
Stepford Wives, Manchurians. I mean,
Yep.
it's just, I believe, like, okay, so when I was in the Marine Corps, um, I met a lot of people. I met a lot of people, a lot of Marines from different parts of the country, different parts of the world. I mean, Marines came in every shape, color, every ethnicity from different parts of the country, not only just the country, but they came from all over the world to join the Marine Corps. And I remember when we were riding the bus up to Fort Sherman, Bernard Schieber, he was from Germany, and he joined the Marine Corps. And he was just like, we were all, just sitting there looking at the whole thing. This was in '87, before, like 18 months before the invasion of Panama to oust Noriega. But
Right.
we were all sitting there like, wow, is this who we? Because we did that podcast on the Panama Canal, and the
Mhm.
thing that people don't understand is what we did to Panama and what we did to Colombia, and the reasons we did it, and the fact that we went down there with an army in a very fascist way to take over that government and say, hey, this is ours, you know, and now now it seems like our own government is here to tell us as citizens, hey, we're taking this country over. You have no more rights. This country is ours. Or am I missing something?
No, you're right, and I feel like our only the only hope that I see right now is that it's not really like a magical alignment of the stars, because they're definitely related to each other. Is that there are a lot of people, so this is going to work one way or the other. Everybody all of a sudden is very upset with the economy, inflation, the cost of things, and we're also seeing the kind of fascistic nature of politicians in general. And you can be on the left side or the right side and believe that one side or the other, that both sides are fascistic, which is not the case. I'm not going to be a both sides guy. The Democrats are actually fighting for more voters, voting more often, getting their voices heard, writing bills that protect people. They're pro-union, which gets people higher wages and better work rights and blah blah blah. And that's the opposite of that is happening
Right.
on the conservative side. So I'm not both sidesing, but you will have both parties, just the regular people from both parties saying that the leaders on both sides are fascistic. So there's this pervasive sentiment that politicians are behaving fascistically. And meanwhile, they're very upset with the cost of living, um, a perceived poor economy. Now it's true that wages are down, but the actual economy on the top side is going very well. Corporate profits are up very high. Um, Corporate earnings, like the quarterly earnings, skyrocketing, doing very well, but it's not trickling down because trickle down economics isn't a thing. So it does seem to be one step away from people going, aha, we are being robbed. They are taking our economy away from us, our buying power, and our voting power through, gerrymandering and voter, disenfranchising, all of that. Like literally, ballots ran out during the last election, November 7th, 2023, in primarily black counties and stuff. So. Um, I feel like this is going to go. one way or the other because of these factors in 2024 during the presidential election. Either people are going to, well, it's going to be both, but we'll see where the numbers end up. People are going to vote based on their perceived notion of the economy not going their way, being absorbed by and given to the rich, the large mega corporations, by the politicians, and the politicians taking too much power for their own agendas and not for the good of the people. Where those votes actually fall is going to decide whether there's a Democrat or a Republican in office for those next 4 years. But those will be the deciding factors. I promise you that. And that is kind of encouraging to me because it's actually the right reasons to vote. I don't know which way it's going to go. I'm scared because a lot of people believe that presidents are in charge of the economy when that's not actually the case. Presidents can like help pass or like get through legislation and decide to sign things and veto things. And veto is a very powerful thing when you have kind of a 50-50 split in the houses and all of that. But like president's effect on the economy is delayed by years. So the economy we have now is very much thanks to like the tariffs and stuff that Trump put in place, and just kind of his poor assessment of like immigration and stuff. And if Trump gets back into office and he does what he's promising right now, which is like he wants to send troopers on the ground to round up immigrants and ship them out of the
to
country,
Mexico.
you're gonna have a collapse of everything. There's going to be housing building crisis. There's going to be agriculture crisis. There's going to be manufacturing crisis. There's going to be like stocking, like
Well, just ask
your groceries
Florida.
and restaurants. Like everything's going to
Ask
collapse.
Florida what happens.
Exactly. They tried it in Florida. And you know what's going to happen when that occurs
Dude,
is the
ask Florida what
economy.
happened. Yeah, dude. And it's not working very well, is it? No.
And the conservatives and the business owners will not accept blame for pushing for these policies and voting Republican. They will blame the liberals and the younger generations and say they don't want to work. They will say they want to do communism and we don't have enough money because they're spending money on communistic socialistic ideals. So go ahead.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you live on the border of Texas, a lot of Texans down there will tell you that there's a lot of eye winking going on when it comes to immigration because they need immigrants to work. They need immigrants to work. So, they're, the powers that be down there wring their eyes. Oh, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right, Bill. Well, you can have your Mexicans, Yeah. Yeah, that's what's, dude, come on. We live in San Diego. I used to cross the border every single day. I saw this with my own eyes. I lived in Mexico in 2020. If they want people to work in the fields, to build their houses, to take care of their children, cook their
Yeah.
dinners, wash their cars, pave their roads, and on and on and on and on. Nothing goes on in this country without cheap labor. And now that they
Right.
don't have black people as slaves, they have to do it another way. And they're going to do it. That's never going away. Whoever, what, you think some 18, 19-year-old white kid from Iowa is going to go to frickin' California and work for the summer in the fields picking avocados from trees? What are you, nuts?
Right.
You think he's going to be
Well,
picking watermelons and oranges and avocado and no, dude. No.
Yeah, and they're not going to pay a living wage to those people, even if like that happens. The great
No.
white like transition to all of these jobs is they're not going to be paid a living wage, and if they were, they wouldn't like the effects anyway because those corporations, those owners are going to raise the prices because not because they need to, because they are used to and want a specific because we rely on the quarterly profits, bigger profits every quarter. and they are not going to let those record quarterly profits degrade year by year. So what do you do when you have to pay higher wages? Well, you actually, if you're making billions of dollars per year and you're having record level, profits every year, you can take a little loss once in a while. Not loss. It's not even a loss. Just a little less profit. Like, let's say 900 million instead of a billion for that year. But that's not what's going to happen. They will, if they are forced to, by some act of God, Republicans decide to give, all of a sudden white people have all of the poor jobs, the shitty jobs, and then they finally pass some sort of minimum wage that's like a living wage. Then you're just going to see prices skyrocket because there will be no regulation on the corporations to monitor the type of profits that price gouging won't be regulated. That's what it comes down to. Regulation will never
Well,
go
I just got back from
against corporate profits.
California, and no, I was just gonna. I just got back from California, and gas is as high as $6 a gallon.
Sure,
I
yeah,
get back here and it's $2.79 a gallon,
right.
bro. That's like three. That's 50%. And why? Why? Because location, location, location. Okay.
Sure.
And the situation that, well, it is location, location, location. And a lot of that has to do with the bubble that burst in 2008 with the recession. Because I remember when you could buy a house in 1999 for $187,000, and that house 6-7 years later was worth $450,000-$500,000, right? So, and it's what it comes down to, bro, is just, fascism and greed and fascism. Follow the money. That's why things are so expensive in California, because people know, or the people that live there, or the corporations that run that state, understand that people want to live there.
Yeah.
And they will pay a premium price for the weather tax. Okay.
Yeah.
When I got off the plane and I woke up Saturday morning and I got in the car, I went and got my car and I started driving around San Diego. I was just like, wow, like this place, I forgot how unbelievably beautiful this place is. It's still clean, bro.
It's stupid gorgeous.
It's a clean city.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous, it really is, and people forget, like, if you're going to, like, oh, y'all, you're all just a bunch of commies from California, blah, 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 blah. No, dude, we just live well. That's all there is. You can be as jealous as you want. If you're going to live there, you're going to pay. And when we show up, yeah, that's right, prices go up. But you know what?
Yep.
We keep shit clean, dude.
Right.
At the end of the day, people like this guy, Mike Johnson, he doesn't want to hear about how clean we keep our cities. He doesn't want to hear about the homeless. He doesn't want to hear about, the immigrants who pick the avocados in the fruit fields of California. He doesn't want to hear about he doesn't want to hear about downtown LA where where all the homeless are. I forgot what it's called. Anyways, he doesn't want to hear about it, dude. He could care less. I mean, if Jesus, here's the ongoing joke. If Jesus showed up today, if Jesus just came down on a shaft of light and he said, "I'm here," dude, the Republican Party would stone him to death.
Yep.
Yeah. Because what Jesus, if you're talking about being a Christian and being Jesus-like, and understanding your God self, these guys are they're hypocrites and they're liars, and he's just another one of them.
Right. No, that's exactly right. And I think the proof in the pudding, like you were saying, I'm just going to add a little bit onto that, is when they are decrying the god awful realities of the dangerous immigrants who are gonna, come in and murder and rape your families. Um, they don't ever, and this is like the telling I guess sign for their disingenuous nature over time. Look at through decades. They don't give you examples of programs that work to help people. They don't give you examples of
Ever.
immigrants being more likely to start successful businesses than natural born citizens. That they're generally going to be, getting doctorates at a higher rate than you and I, or people like you and I. You know what I mean? I'm not getting a doctorate. That's not going to happen. That boat sailed. But
Sure, sure. No, 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 no. I get it. I get it.
um, but yeah, they don't give examples of good programs and try to fund the programs that bring in, like, let's just call them better immigrants. Like, I'll go in with the racist rhetoric, full force if you want to like help fund some good people that make the place better. You find some good programs that make some people who are in need and are seeking a better life better people, and give us benefits of their increased knowledge, their increased like participation in the economy. They build up the economy. All rising, tides lift all boats, or whatever. All rising tides lift all boats. They don't give examples or offers to build legislation that helps these people better or improve in programs that help immigrants. That's not the goal. The goal is always to just do away with these people that they don't like. And it's not all immigrants, is it? There are certain
It's
immigrants that
never
are
been
better
the
than
goal.
others. Yeah.
No, it's not. No, look, you have, if you're an immigrant from Norway, Finland, England, Germany, Spain, maybe, you're a great immigrant, right? If you're an immigrant from Kenya, Sudan, Angola, Ghana, no, we don't want you here.
Yeah.
If you're an immigrant from China, from maybe even Brazil, Venezuela, especially this, our brothers and sisters in South America and Central America, they don't, and the Caribbean, we don't want you here.
Yeah.
They're the powers that be, the white patriarchal, white nationalist system does not want you here, and that's just part of being a fascist.
Well,
The fact
and
of the
now,
matter that the leader of the Proud Boys was Cuban
oh right.
is just
Yeah.
mind blowing. Just
Yeah.
mind blowing to me.
Which, like,
You know,
okay, so I feel like eventually the ruse is going to be left behind once the white nationalists get actual power in this nation. It's probably, I hope not. It's probably going to happen if voters don't inform themselves year by year continuously a little better and a little better. We saw that they gave up on attacking LGBTQ because it was unpopular, because gay people started to be accepted by society, as are immigrants or people of color. More slowly. We're getting more and more, credit from the regular people, or what we call the regular people. See, that's me in my old oppressed mind thinking like that regular people are white Christians, right? But like they are starting to accept immigrants and LGBTQ in bigger and bigger numbers. Um,
I was
and I
wondering where you were going with that.
yeah, and I feel like they are eventually going to have to knock out or knock off the whole like anti-immigration thing and switch gears into being just against non-evangelical Christian nationalists. You can be whatever color you want to be, as long as you're on board with the Christian evangelical part, so the fascism part. And that's the way that works. That's how the Nazis got into power. As long as you were on board with the Nazis, you might be safe. You were safe until you weren't, at least. And I feel like we're going to start to see that type of trend coming in sooner than later if we get more of these
Yeah,
Christian
I agree.
nationalists into power. I
Man, we could
mean,
talk about this for like 15 days
I feel like
in a row.
we've really
It's crazy
we've
how
got the
much
basis of it
has
right
happened.
there.
Literally.
The basis of it's there though. We've covered the very basic fact is if you are going to vote for conservative Christian Republicans, you are voting for a fascist Christian nationalist takeover of the United States. That's it. I think that that's the point of this video here today. And it's gonna be
Period.
that important.
Period.
It's gonna be
And
the
when
most
I hear
important
people
issue
say
for the
things
next year.
like, well, check this out. Well, I'd say for the next freaking 10 years. Are you kidding?
Yeah, sure.
Dude, these people
Yeah.
are not going to quit. You got to realize they've been after Roe versus Wade for 50 years. They aren't going to stop until it's going to take a freaking near-death situation for these people to stop coming after the rights of other people that don't look like them. That's what it's going to take. And I mean, it's a situation where the pitchforks come out. Hopefully not. It's a situation where people are like, I'm not. Again, Black people said we're tired. We're not going to do this anymore. And the reason we said that was because we just didn't want to. We just didn't want to. We were done. And so once we were done, everyone looked at us and they said, all the other people of color, women looked at us and went, wow, these guys are serious, And literally, Pago, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take people going, who are these people trying to take my rights? And trying to take my rights away. But here's the thing. Here's the real thing. There are a lot of people out there just getting up, going to work every day, shoving poles in the holes, robots of modern day reality. And they're just, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to put my pants on, my shirt on, get in my car, drive to work, go to work, come back, eat dinner, kiss the wife, kick the dog, have a beer, and those are the people. They're going to hear this one day. And it's going to be some jackboots at the door saying, hey, Bill, come with us. And he's going to be like, what did I do? Where are you taking me? Just come with us. When they start people. Oh, man, this could get really bad.
Yeah.
Do you understand that, right?
Oh, yeah. This is the beginning of something awful in our lifetime.
This could get really, 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 really bad.
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm not here to say.
I just want to encourage.
Says I told you.
No, I know. I know. A lot of us have been saying that for quite some time, all our lives. I feel like it's just easier to express to people that, like, right now you have the opportunity. I know that the Electoral College makes things seem like bullshit, and it kind of is bullshit. I know that gerrymandering makes things feel like bullshit, and it is bullshit. And I know that, like, no representative is perfect, and that is bullshit. But the alternative is much, much, much worse. And you do right now have one vote. You might think that that vote doesn't count, but you thinking your vote isn't, like, perfect is much better than you're not having a vote at all. There is a world that can exist very soon in which you have 0 votes. 0 votes and conscription to go into a war that you have no choice to go into, and to fight for leaders and religions or enriching people that you don't believe in or care about, and they certainly don't care about you. At least you have the ability right now to think about and talk about things you don't like. That there's a world that can happen very soon in which
imagine losing your entire family because she's Mexican and you're Black. Imagine losing your whole family because you're Japanese and he's white, and you can't be married because there's no more interracial marriage in America.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Well, All right, Rodney.
And that on top of about 80 other things.
Yeah. There's a full list, and I think we're going to go through those in a couple of future videos. We've got a good year right now to come into a bunch of conversations about who's going to win the primary, and then the general. Once the general kind of ramps up, we're going to get some policies finally. We're going to get some policies. We're going to get some actual conversations about fun things like tariffs. Like, what the heck is a tariff? Because apparently some politicians don't understand how tariffs work and how it actually increases inflation and makes things more expensive. We will work on things like... A lot of
people don't understand how...
Yeah, we'll work on like the nitty gritty. Those will be fun videos.
Or what NAFTA did to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep. Lot of fun conversations that nobody's interested in, but we will get to some of these nitty gritty things. This was definitely one of the more hardcore ones, but I felt like we made it very, very light and funny, very just like delightful to talk about oncoming Christo-fascist nations. So,
well, I mean, you know, look, at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world, no matter how you think of it. You know. What it is, what it signals, and what people should understand is that, you know, these things come, these types of men and women, these types of how can I say, what's the word I'm looking for? These cultural phenomenons, they come, they're potent, and they mean to harm people, okay,
mm-hmm.
and you have to be aware of said you know, the creation of these things, because I mean, you're not just talking about the next 2 or 3 years. If something like this happens, you're talking about 2 or 3 generations.
That's right,
dude.
That's right. You're not just fighting for yourself or your 401k. You're fighting for your grandchildren. That's absolutely true.
Way down there, dude.
Yeah.
Way down there. We're talking about your nieces and your nephews and all of those people that you love, dude. That's what we're talking about. So, at any rate.
That's true. Well, for anybody who has gotten through this very delightful, fun-hearted, light conversation,
this was awesome.
We appreciate it. Yeah, I had a good time. I always love talking to you, Rodney. So I'm not sure what we're going to talk about next time.
Fun-hearted and light.
You know, like we might want to get Vivek.
We're gonna rock and roll. Hey, please subscribe.
I was gonna say we might want to get Vivek in here for like a technology bit here soon.
Sick.
Yeah, let's think about that. Yeah, please, like Rodney said, like subscribe. We're getting the website together and we're doing more shows and podcasts. Rodney's doing a lot. And I'm gonna start to do some solo stuff here on the channel as well. So I'm gonna just talk about lighter things like AI ruining all of Earth and humanity. So that should be super delightful.
Yeah, you talk about that. You go ahead and talk about how good that's gonna work. Dude, that's so funny.
All right. Well, I will see you back in the channel. Rodney, I love you. Thanks for tuning into American Micro, and we will talk to you guys next time.